Everyone, I'm going to show you how to create a yin-yang symbol using only simple selection tools and channels or saving selections in Photoshop. So let's get started. And this tutorial is really helpful in learning how to use selection tools. That's why we use it, in learning how to think through it. So first, yin-yang symbols are very symmetrical. I'll just show you what one looks like so you can see where we're going. And the first thing I'm going to do is to set up some rulers. And I'm going to change my default selection from a square to a circle. We'll use a lot of circles here. And in my selection, this is a continuation from our last RGB exercise. So we'll use some of the same tools. I'm using Option Shift to create a symmetrical circle or a symmetrical ellipse from the center. And I'm going to go ahead and pull down some rulers on the top and the bottom. That will help me in a moment. And I don't need to save the selection, but what I'm going to do is turn it into an outline. And one way to do that is to go into Select, Modify, and Border. And I'm going to go ahead and just give this a 5-pixel border, so you can see that it's now a selection that is an outline. And I have black in my foreground, set to my foreground. So I'm just going to go ahead and hold down the Option key and hit Delete. And then click anywhere, and I have a circle to get me started. Now I'm going to create a couple more circles. So I'm going to hold Option Shift again and really create a circle where I can control where it lands. And I can also use the arrow keys just to kind of put that exactly where I want it on those guides. And I'm going to go ahead and save this selection. So in the last exercise, we went into the channels and I actually created some channels, but there's a shortcut we can use. I can just go in and save selection, and I'm going to call this top circle, and it's a new channel, and you can see now it appears. And so what that enables me to do is I can go in at any time and select that circle again. So I'm just going to click on this circle, and in order to maintain its verticality, I'm going to hold down Shift. So now it will be stay vertical in a straight vertical axis with the top circle. And it's the exact same size, so I'm going to go ahead and save this as bottom circle because yin-yangs are very symmetrical that way. And you can see it appears. Okay, so I can select this a couple of ways. I can click on the channel and drag it into that dotted outline that looks like a selection tool, and there it appears. Or I can just go into Select where I made the selection and load it up again. And it will ask me which one, and I will say top circle, and okay. So if I look at my example, I want to make this area black. So that's pretty easy. I have black set in the foreground. I'm going to hold down Option and hit Delete. And now it gets a little bit trickier. I'm going to go ahead and load my bottom circle. And I want this to be white. I want this to stay white. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select everything in the picture except this circle. And I can do that a couple of ways. When I loaded it, I could simply select Invert, and that will work, and I'll show you how that works. And except I selected the top circle. So, whoops. Let's go back into Photoshop, sorry. And I will go into Load Selection and make sure the correct circle is selected, invert it, and click OK. And you can see the selection around the side. So everything is selected except this circle. Another way I could have done it that I wanted to show you is anytime you make any selection, you can always inverse it by using this. I use this all the time. It's just very handy. So I want only this area selected, and I have all of this selected. So this is where my plus and minus keys come in handy. I'm going to go ahead and change this back to a rectangle marquee. And if I just click and drag now, it will delete this selection. So I'm gonna, if I hold down Shift, I will actually add to it, but I'm gonna hold down Option, and I'm just going to click and drag around what I know I do not want selected. Okay, so this is better. I only want this selection to go black, but I have all this selected too. So the easiest way to probably do that is to go into my magic wand and to again hold down the minus key. Shift key will add, minus will subtract, and just click that there, and you'll see that now this area is already black, so I don't really care about that, but only this area is selected. So if I click Option, Delete, voila, it goes black. So I only use the subtraction tool here, but it's sort of a way to think about how to use adding and subtracting in a very powerful way. Now the rest is easy, so I'm going to just sort of hold down Option and Shift, and I'm going to make my foreground white and hit Option, Delete. And then I'm just going to click and then hold down Shift, so that if I hold down Shift, I keep that vertical axis, and therefore I keep the symmetry of the yin yang, and then change my foreground to black and hit Option, Delete, and I have a yin yang symbol. So hopefully that is helpful and shows you something about selection tools.